Yo, what's poppin'? Today we have the first of two review videos I should be doing, one for APAC, one for NA. So for these ones I woke up bright and early at 5:55 a.m. to watch some Overwatch. Uh, so yeah, just jump right into it. So, first match, Philadelphia Fusion against the Shanghai Dragons. And the result may shock you. We have a 3-0 victory for the Philadelphia Fusions. Uh, So moving on to starting with, I guess, New Queen Street, we have a Philly playing Carpe, Zest, Belosria, Aim God, and Fixa against Shanghai playing Lip, Fleta, Void, Elysia Gon, and Izayaki. A very familiar lineup, minus no Fate. So, uh, this ends up being a 63.35 to 46.30 victory for the Philly Fusion, which doesn't seem like a lot, but it kind of was, kind of is. So we have Philly loading out on Soldier, Tracer, Winston, Lucio, Ana, and Shanghai rolling out on Soldier, Reaper, Zarya, Lucio, Ana. So the Zarya variant versus the Winston, and we've seen Zarya comp be played by Dallas, and we heard that APAC was playing Zarya, so we see Shanghai opting to play it. Starting off, Belosrio, we went down early to Lip, and Void just staying on this high ground the whole time, and into the subway car and back on the hockey statue. And Zest is just sticking Izayaki. He gets a pulse pretty fast. This isn't quite the first fight. It's a pretty decently long first fight. And Philadelphia is moving the guy. So Shanghai stops them from getting the checkpoint, and Philly kite back, and the bot gets about to mid, and then Philly go back, and they get the checkpoint, and then they back up immediately as they lose someone, and then it's looking like the Reaper pick is being ineffective for Shanghai right now. And also with the Zarya, and I'm not sure if it's the map geography on this map at this point, but it kind of feels like Philly is just playing out of the range of the Reaper's area, and that Shanghai can only really apply pressure through Lip's Soldier, and Shanghai's just not really exerting any pressure on Philly other than what Lip's doing. Like, they're just, even if they walk up, they're not in like a proper range to actually do anything. And it's not like they're denying dives on their back line either. So I'm not entirely sure what, like, there's just not a lot happening from that, the main point of the comp. And I don't know. Void had a 32% average energy throughout the whole map, and Zest was doing a lot on Tracer. So this map, I maybe wasn't fully awake, perhaps, because I did not write that much down, but I did for the other maps. So for this map, all I can really say is that, yeah, the Zarya comp seemed to struggle against the Winston comp on this map. And I don't know if that's true typically, but the way Shanghai was playing it, it looked like the Winston comp was just getting a lot more value, and Zest on Tracer was doing so well. He was unreal. So this map was like kind of a wash for Shanghai in a way. Like, there was not a lot going on, and it felt like Philly was outplaying them positionally, especially, and maneuvering around them well. So moving on to Circuit Royal, we have MN3 come in for Carpe and Fury come in for Belosria. So we're expecting a Zarya comp, and that's exactly what we get. We get the teams mirroring Widow, Echo, Zarya, Ana, but then we get Philly on the offense playing Mercy and Shanghai on the defense playing Brig. So this is a pretty close map. It was 2-1 for Philly, but this was a close map for sure. So we get Shanghai playing on the close corner to start, and then Lip gets a big pick on Zest, who gets rezzed, and then Zest ends up diffing Fleta, and he gets a Lip also, and then Philly win the fight, and the cart's like under the bridge at like 2:45. So not a great start for the Shanghai defense. They burn off a few minutes, or a minute and a bit, I suppose, but not a lot really gets done. And then next fight, Lip just kills 3 and the fight's done. You know, you're 135. The fight on these corners, around the first point corner on Circuit Royal, they are very slow, and it's just like the teams are waiting for their respective Widowmaker to get picks, because the Echoes can't really, I feel like the Echoes can't do a lot, because if you go into the Widow LOS, there's a good chance you get picked. So the Echoes can't play that aggressively. So they're just kind of shooting at each other's like front lines, and they can't really get to the back line. So they're either shooting at each other Echo or each other's Zarya, or the Mercy in the case of Shanghai can shoot the Mercy, but not. I don't know. I don't know if I don't know how much I love Echo, but Echo is very powerful for holding the frontline battle. Your front lines can't walk at all into Echo, basically. So it's literally like a deadlock where you're playing for each other's widows. So then Lip ends up popping walls and forces Philly to sit back even more, and ends at like 1 minute. So Lip ends up picking MN3 and he gets rezzed, and Philly is still playing very slowly. And Lip is getting more value than MN3 by like a significant margin right now. But as I type that, Fury grabs his Iyaki and MN3 gets a pick. And they pick the Echo copy as well. Echo copy, my bad. And Philly use all alts but Nano Boost. And they enter second with 220. Which is like almost overtime. I don't think it is overtime, but it's like very close to overtime. So then probably 20 seconds. So you probably get 20, probably get 2 minutes going into second if you have an OT, right? So now in the second point, Nano Zest goes pretty deep, but he ends up getting nothing, large part due to the Brig shield from Liege Gan. Brig in this particular matchup at this point is doing a lot more than the Mercy, I would say, and that was an example of it. Without Brig there, Zest Nano gets probably both backline supports. So good pick on the Brig. And then Shanghai DPS get their counterparts at about 115, and Shanghai pull up into the Philly spawn and they win the fight. And now at this point, Fleta is staging in their spawn, but Zest and Fixa find him and they go back and they kill him. And then Lip forces a res on MN3, and now we're in overtime. We're not in overtime because I typed this because I thought they would get overtime, but we're actually not in overtime because Void grabs and forces Philly off the cart, and they don't even get to trigger it. So it was just a lie. So the stat for this particular offense is Lip has 7 final blows and 1 death, and MN3 has 3 final blows and 7 deaths. So Lip definitely outplaying MN3. So it's kind of they only win second off the grab. Or at first point, they only make it to second off the grab. Essentially, it's not MN3 on the Widow, but that's probably also why you're playing the Zarya there, is for another win con if you are playing slow but your Widow doesn't work out. So there's that. Moving on to the Shanghai offense, we see a complete mirror with Widow, Echo, Zarya, Brig, Ana, and Philly are also holding at the first corner, but they don't actually take a fight there, and they kind of kite back. I'm not sure, maybe someone got picked out and that's why they that's why they kited, but I don't think that's the case. I think their plan was to kite back. Nano Fleta goes deep and it does a lot of damage. Void grabs Fury in a support, but Fury lives and he grabs after, and Zest and MN3 win out the fight for Philly. Both teams dupe the Zaryas. Only Zest gets the grab though, as Fleta does not, and Shanghai loses the fight, and they don't end up triggering OT. So I didn't write a lot here because it's more of the same thing as Philly's offense, is they're just playing super slow and they're winning, but less was happening. The whole point just kind of ticked down. Like, it looks like, oh, they could win this fight, but they couldn't. They never won the fight. They're just sitting back. They're just kiting. They're not even kiting. They're just nothing happening. The Widow duel's going on, but Philly had a solid hold on the corner, and Shanghai just did not break it. And they didn't get their grabs with enough value. When Fleta copies Zarya and he doesn't get the grab off it, it's really bad. You really want to try and get the grab off that for sure. But I don't know. You need a grab there. You need a Widow pop off there from Shanghai to make it past that corner. You need some big play from any 3 of your players, but it just never happened. I don't know how you make that happen. I don't know if you just have to get like a big grab or something. That's the only way to break that corner. And it didn't happen. So yeah, and as a summary for this game, slow map rather, and Lip was getting more value than MN3. And I thought the Mercy Pocket was getting less value for the Echo into the Widow, but you can make the argument that the Mercy lets you get more tries to break through the defense. So while it gets less value for the Echo, it's definitely good for the Widow. So it's not, I don't think it's a bad pick, it's just different. And Brig just helps your front line be able to live. So I'm not going to say which one's better, because I see that they both have big value. I think in this matchup, the Brig ended up doing more, but the Mercy won the game, so it's hard to say. Yeah, and Lip showed on the defense for Shanghai, but on the offense, he could not find a way to shut down ZS on the Echo and MN3 on the Widow. And for the Philly offense, which is the Shanghai defense, the Mercy Pocket was getting a lot of reses off and helping the Widow do it, but the Brig got more value overall. I already said that. My bad. And Fleta feels absent in this game so far. There's not a lot of Fleta plays. Like, he's not popping off in this game. He's just there. And I was honestly wondering if they would put in Who Are You for him at this point. And that's exactly what they do the next map on King Zero, which is a 5-4 win for Philly and a crushing effort of trollage for Shanghai. Absolute trollage. So Who Are You comes in for Fleta, and we think, oh, well, that's probably Genji. And it is Genji. So for Shanghai's offense, we get Philly playing Ashe, Echo, Zarya, Brig, Ana, and Shanghai playing Soldier, Genji, Zarya, Lucio, Ana. So this is the first time we've really seen Ashe. I believe Houston played a little Ashe, but didn't really do anything earlier. And we're seeing a big love for the Echo so far. And so Shanghai walks in, and Lip does way more on Soldier than MN3 does on Ashe, and he just, like, Ashe just insta-dies, and Shanghai just kind of walk through and cap and enter second with 530. So basically no first point defense for Philly here. And MN3 immediately swaps over to Soldier, and he recognizes, oh, maybe the Ashe is not it. Or maybe Ashe, he prefers the Ashe on the high ground or something. I'm not sure. But he swaps over to Soldier right away. And then Nano MN3 wins the fight against Nano something. I don't know what it was, but Nano was used. Visor Lip Visor gets both supports, but he ends up dying, and Lee Jae-gon also dies. Who Are You gets 2, and Shanghai have ults up, going to the end of second. So it's looking good. But they're trading, right? They're making progress, but they are trading, so it's pretty close fights. Void grabs when, like, Fixit pops the rally, and then Void decides to grab it immediately, and then Fixit dies. Zest does not get grab when he copies that, and that's not great. Who Are You blades to clean up the fight, and they enter third with 420. So Shanghai kind of doing a bit of rolling right now. It only took them a minute to get through second because they're just kind of carrying their momentum, and you might be thinking, wow, they have 420 entering third. How are they losing? It's a great question. So Zest kites Nano Visor under the map, and he pops up on the other side. So let me picture this. So you have Echo, and you know how King Zero has, like, the under portion. Moving onto the, like, backside where the spawns are, there's a Nano Visor going on there, and Zest just kind of floats down, and he ends up, like, floating down and then coming back forth. I don't know how to describe that, and he pops up by, like, the horseshoe, kind of by the cart. And while he's doing that, MN3, Lip is just kind of looking for him the whole time, trying to finish the kill, but he doesn't do anything with the Nanovisor because of it. So Zest gets out, and Nanovisor kills nothing, and then MN3 pulls up with his own Nanovisor, and Shanghai would, like, lose. So maybe a little bit of tunnel vision there, but also just a great play by Zest to live and use the geography by going onto the map like that. So we have, what do we have? I lost my spot. I heard something. MN3 headshots Who Are You as he dashes on him, and then MN3 also gets Izzyaki. So MN3 is going really hard right now. He's on Widow at this point. I didn't write it down, but he is on Widow right now. I believe this is probably his first or second fight. Yeah, no, this is his first fight on it. So Who Are You dashes on him, and he just headshots him, and then SMGs him, and he dies. And then he also gets Izzyaki. So MN3 swaps Widow and gets immediate value. which is not surprising, but last map, whenever we saw him on circuit, he was not doing that. So it's not surprising because M3 is a really good player, really good rookie, but it's different from what we saw. So for the next fight, Fury gets a grab, which gets good picks, and Shanghai try to back up, and M3 is just clicking more heads. And doesn't let them leave unscathed. And now it's at 1:45 on the clock. So their time bank from 4:20 is now at 1:45, and things are getting a little worse. But MN3 gets a little too aggressive, maybe feeling himself a little too much, and Who Are You ends up catching him out. And the Who Are You then takes that and he blades and he gets a lot of attention. And then as they're turning on Who Are You, Lip gets a big visor. And Shanghai end up rolling through to the end with 45 seconds left, essentially. So that third point definitely took a little bit of a toll, taking like 3:30 or so to cap it out. But first and second were quite easy for them. So Shanghai looked relatively good going into the third. Yeah. So moving on to the Philly offense, I'd probably be speeding this up 16 minutes for the first game. My bad. Whatever. So Philly's offense, we have Hanzo, Echo, Zarya, Brig, Ana against Soldier, Genji, Zarya, Lucio, Ana. What we've noticed so far is that we're seeing a lot more Brig being gravitated, and this is like a thing throughout all of APAC. Which is kind of interesting that they are not valuing Lucio as much as the Brig healing and like the whip shot, I would assume. That's all she really has over Lucio at this point, which is interesting. So just thought I'd point that out. Void is staging around the statue, but he gets a lot of pressure on him, and he's forced to use both his bubbles as he backs up. So Philly take this space for free onto the point. And then the Zarya's come back, and they're fighting in the hotel between them. But MN3 gets a headshot on Void. But then, and also Aim God gets a big nade. And Izuyaki gets a bigger nade back, and Lip does big damage. And they're... And Shanghai stabilized, and now it's 2:30 on the clock, and the Zarya ults are 80 to 55 for I don't remember who. I think it's 80 to 55 for Philly on the offense because Void went down. So there's that. Raw Nano, Who Are You goes deep and gets kills and gets a lot of attention and cooldowns, and the rest of Shanghai end up cleaning up. That's 2 minutes left. Shanghai used both DPS ults, and they win that fight. And Zest almost got Who Are You, and forced both bubbles on him at 128. And at this point, Shanghai's been using their ults very efficiently, right? They're only using 1 or 2 ults per fight, and Philly are using ults back, and at this point, they seem like this is like the old Shanghai that we remember from last year. They are putting up a really strong defense. They are using their ults very well. And that was one of their strongest points, was like their fight planning and their ultimate usage, right? But does not last. As Fury grabs Dragon's Void, and the beat does not come out, and he ends up dying. And then Li Jigan beats a little after. And it's not enough to turn that fight because you're down your Zarya, and Philly have 245 entering second. Nano, Who Are You gets really low, but it does a lot. And Shanghai end up being able to stabilize and hold on to choke for 140. MN3 swaps over to Cassidy at this point from the Hanzo, and Who Are You takes down Fury. And he's doing a lot in these fights. Who Are You is... He's feeling like they're not missing Fleta at all, especially from the previous map. Or the previous 2 maps, rather. So, he's looking quite good on the Genji. Zest now swaps over to Genji himself. And I don't know why it says 0.42. Philly walks up hotel side. Maybe it's at 42, yeah. Okay. So at 42, Philly walks up to the hotel side, and Who Are You blades and gets a lot, but he ends up dying. And then Shanghai do catastrophic trolling and walk into the spawn. Like the backline, Li Jigan specifically, just push up into the spawn, and then MN3 just kills them both. And now Philly have a bit of momentum rolling with a card in overtime. Lip At this point, right as Philly's moving their card, he's in the subway on Soldier, but Zest finds him and he just dies. So now Shanghai are looking to 4v5 to hold the end of second. And then Who Are You gets Ron Nandoed, but he just dies. And Philly enter third with 130, and they have 4 alts. They haven't even needed to alt. So they are looking to steamroll with these alts. And that's exactly what they do. Fury Grev comes out, Lip insta dies when he visors. And then he swaps Widow with 30 seconds left. Fixa hits a rally, but N-Man 3 High Noons, Zest, and then Zest Blades, and they get a lot, and Philly cap with time because Shanghai are trolling. So they just never really regrouped after that. Like they did regroup, but it was too late because at that point, Philly just had to hit their ults and they won the game, basically, especially with Lip dying in visor. So now we have Philly's offense, which has a minute to go. We have Philly playing Cassidy, Genji, Zarya, Brigana, and Shanghai playing Soldier, Genji, Zarya, Luciana. MN3 looks for heavily on Widow, doesn't find it, and he goes over to Cassidy. Philly decided to take the outside high ground up around the right side, and they kind of move on like that. Zest on the Genji takes up the top side, and he kind of forces Lip down. So now the high ground is completely controlled by Philly at this point, and it forces Shanghai back, and Philly end up capping in overtime because they try to touch back, but it just doesn't work because they have control of the point, they have control of the high grounds, and Philly's not really in a position to do it. So Fury grabs a ton, and MN3 just pulls up and headshots all the standing still guys in the grab. Zest Blade pounces on a Lip visor. MN3 High Noons and Fury cleans, and they enter third point very easily. Void gets a grab, and Who Are You Blade finally stops a cart around the first corner on third, but it was not difficult for Philly to do that. It's not that it was easy, like they just walked in, like they definitely staged and they definitely denied Shanghai the high ground and stuff like that. But after that, it looked relatively easy for Philly to just take that and win off it. And Shanghai did not do any stopping. So now we're on the Shanghai offense at 141. We have Philly playing Ashe, Genji, Zarya, Brigana, and so it's Shanghai playing Soldier, Genji, Zarya, Luciana. So Philly choosing to start on the Ashe again. Lift look for something on Widow, and then he swaps because he doesn't find anything. He's on the Soldier now, and he just kills MN3 again. So 2 times in a row, the Ashe just insta dies to the Soldier. Lucian gets Zest. MN3 swaps over to Soldier, and Shanghai cap out first with 0.35 remaining. And Zest gets 3, and MN3 gets 2, and now Philly's holding right on the cart. And Zest is beside the spawn door, just waving to Void, and then he doesn't see him, and then he is just chilling around, and he kills Izayaki, and it's just a mess. And Philly win, and Shanghai lose 3-0, and it is in a spectacular fashion. So Shanghai looked like they were for sure winning this map. And then there was I've never seen any more trollage, especially from a team like Shanghai. It was like for fun Overwatch, but it's just Shanghai Dragons. I haven't seen it from them before. That was crazy, but yeah, they trolled so hard they dropped the spaghetti and also all the milk, and the whole kitchen is just in a giant mess. So not great. Philly never let up though, and they took every single advantage Shanghai gave to them. And Zest and MN3 looked very good this map, despite MN3 deciding to play Cassidy or Ashe with their Soldier. MN3 did not play the Soldier as much as the Cassidy on the offense, and then he also played Ashe. So it was very interesting. Going on to a match summary, Shanghai just question mark. I don't know. In map 1, it felt like a bad composition for Nuke Win Street, but as we see, more teams are playing that later, so I'm not sure if that's entirely true. I think they just executed it poorly. And map 2 was close, but they couldn't get past that first corner, and just not getting the big grab or copies to do a proper team wipe. And on map 3, they literally had to win and decided to troll, and they could not get it back together. I'd say Philly looked great with any combination of either Carpe or MN3 or Zest, with each role probably outperforming the Shanghai counterpart besides Circuit Royale, where Lip definitely was better than MN3 on the defense for sure. But there was not without some questions and it was a little shaky at times for Philly on Circuit Royale, and it did look like they're going to be stopped on KR, but it was a pretty solid game for Philly overall. You can't be upset about the result for sure. So the Automaton player of the match goes to Zest, who's an absolute menace of a player. He was playing the Tracer well, he was playing the Echo well, he was playing the Genji well. And it did not matter that boy has the dog in him, for real. Like, definitely should be looked at for a Rookie of the Year candidate going forward. And just really strong showing. Yeah, and one more thing about this match, like moving on from Zest, is Fleta. I don't know what was going on with Fleta, but he was not fully there. Yeah, I don't know. I just didn't feel. I did not feel the MVP level Fleta that we've had. Anyway, moving on from that 25-minute review. My bad. I guess I thought there was a lot to talk about. We have the Los Angeles Valiant against the Guangzhou Charge, and these are two teams expected to be at the bottom of APAC standing, right? But we get a 3-2 win. We get a 3-1 win for Guangzhou. In a pretty entertaining match, to be honest. So starting with Coliseum, we have Valiant playing Dia, Becky, Sasson, Lengsa, and Coldest, and Guangzhou playing Develop, Choice A1, Rio, Unique, and Faraway 1987. So we come out with two conflicting comps right off the bat. We get Valiant playing Soldier, Reaper, Zarya, Lucio, Ana that we just saw Shanghai play, and we also saw Philly play it too, right? Well, not really the Reaper, but yeah. And so we had Guangzhou playing Soldier, Genji, Winston, Lucio, Ana, the standard thing we've been seeing from APAC, or from NA rather. So Dia starts by trying to flank like right through the map to get a big flank, but Guangzhou scouts him, so he's forced to go back to his team, which I think is a great. I don't think I noticed that before, but I bet you that's what soldiers do, because we see soldiers, like I remember Shockwave going on a big flank against Boston or something, and that's probably what he did. So if you don't take the outside at the start of Coliseum, you're risking the enemy soldier getting a huge flank off or something like that. So it makes sense that you want to take outside, and I feel like that's the reason that you want teams doing that. But anyway, they scout him. And Valiant take early the hallway control into the Coliseum, right? Guangzhou then dive deep, and Choi Sang-won gets a big kill on the Valiant support assassin, and Dia hits a big flank in the end. He was stopped at the beginning, but he cannot be stopped. He goes back, gets a huge flank, and kills 3, and he goes down. So despite Charge like winning the fight off a good engagement on the dive, Dia kills 3, so they don't really win the fight, and they can't really do anything. So despite this, Valiant end up having more push in the end, and they didn't get to push the barricade at all. So Guangzhou, then they go back, they dive way too deep, or well, Rio dies too deep, or he dies too early, and he immediately dies. And Valiant fight back to play in the hallway, like they're pushing it out, right? But at that point, they end up cutting back to play back in the hallway because they don't want to take the fight out in the open. So Dia pulls up, then a visor beat, and he gets 3, and then he gets slept, but it doesn't matter that he gets slept because he just killed 3. And then coming out next fight, Choice A1 gets a blade, and a Rio gets a primal, and Unique gets a beat, and it wins against Assassin Grab. So trading 3 ults for 1, not bad at all. Valiant come back and they push fast, but despite Unique going down early, Guangzhou went out with Nano and a sleep on. And Assassin, I guess. Probably on Assassin. And Guangzhou take the barricade lead at this point. So at the start of this map, Valiant was looking like they were winning, but in the end, Guangzhou ended up winning this, right? 2-1 or 121 to 82 or something. So it was a very slow push for Guangzhou, but I think I'll talk about it later. But I think Valiant probably weren't playing aggressively enough or proactively at this point. So Develop takes out Becky in Blossom, and they win at the fight, but they lose some, so they get the checkpoint, but then they just cut back. And Rio primals next fight, but he goes too deep and he ends up dying. And then Choi Se-won ends up carrying out and blades to win the fight at 1:15 remaining on the clock. So moving on, Develop visors and wins a fight, but he goes down as the charge push the bot along the final stretch, like up. They've made it past the loop, the checkpoint loop. So they end up moving along the final stretch. Dia just finds 2 out of nowhere at the end of a fight. and then Becky finds another, and now it's an OT. And Valiant have to push it to 121 from like 40 at this point. So Becky's Blossom. So on this hallway, Becky is sitting back with Coldest, and Coldest gets dove. So Becky like blossoms it so that Coldest doesn't die, and Valiant is just pushing bot the whole time, and they end up getting to the checkpoint because the dive. Well, once the Blossom comes out and they have to kite back, they end up dying too. So Guangzhou end up with more ult than Valiant though, and they get to the checkpoint, and then they win the map with these ults, with the DPS ults, with the Primal, with the Nano, and they end up winning the fight. So what I want to talk about here is, first up, Dia gets a deadlift and a loss with 12 out of 22 of the final blows. And he pulled some fight wins out of nothing like the first fight, and there was another fight along the final stretch to get overtime where he just finally magically would kill 2 or 3 guys just out of nowhere. And Becky really did not have a very noticeable performance, or noticeable in maybe a bad way, because there was a good play where he used Blossom to like peel, and that was kind of good, but overall I would say definitely not great performance on the Reaper, and I'd expect a little more. So it felt like Charge was playing into the Valiant's game at the very start, and let Zarya kind of take the pace and move up, but they took a bad engagement, but after that they kind of progressed and found the tempo that worked for them and didn't work for Valiant as much, and they found the good dives on that backline, and the Reaper and the Zarya kind of struggled to do a lot back. So they just kind of went over them, kind of, I don't know if they outranged them, but they set themselves up so that whenever they got the dive off, the Zarya Reaper would not be able to counterattack right away kind of thing. And so what I was going to say about Valiant and them not being aggressive enough, I see my camera like fucking up. Oh, it's because it's windy. Hold on. Oh, it did pause it. Cool. So, Valiant did not actually take their lead enough. So whenever they push the barrier, they get at the start, I feel like they should have probably pushed up a little bit more. I know it's good to back up and let the fight come to you and play in positions where you're advantaged, but I think Valiant did that a little too loosely and could have gotten more push pressure and gotten more and played up closer and still played in these positions that was better for them. So I don't know, I felt like a little like, oh, we pushed it this far, it's good enough, but it quickly was not good enough, and they quickly never got it back to that point. So I feel like there's probably could have been better in their positioning where they want to take the fights when they had the lead. Because at one point it was like 40 to like 0, I want to say, or something. So they probably could have done more there. Anyway, moving on to map 2. We have Route 66, which is a 1-0 victory for Valiant, and this is going to be a quick one. No swaps. We have Valiant playing Soldier, Echo, Zarya, Brigana, and the Charge playing Sombra, Genji, Winston, Brigana. So we see a Sombra come out. We've not seen a lot of Sombra. We've seen Checkmate play Sombra in Florida, right? But that's all we've seen. So Faraway gets a huge nade on the Valiant, who are playing very deep, and they're giving a lot of space. This is like multiple minutes in at this point, and it's the first time anything's really happened. Because they've been contesting cart, but the Valiant have been like playing back for big Earls the whole time, and have just not really contested that first like stretch of road. So it was a little odd. But Choisei Wong gets raw nanoed and ends up dying, and Becky finds Faraway and Rio for Valiant to win this fight. And this is Becky on the Echo, not the Reaper. So Becky on the Reaper, not great. Becky on the Echo, doing some work at times. Becky copies Winston and goes deep, but doesn't actually get much from it. Rio dives in, he gets slept, he gets primaled. Develop finds an EMP on the back line, and Rio gets a kill on Faraway, I want to say. No, that's on his team. Coldest. Yeah, he gets it on Coldest. And Assassin gets a big grab, and Becky is doing work, and that's the only thing they find out of it. And that would end up being the only thing they find in the entire round, because they only got 1 elimination total on Coldest from that EMP dive. And then Choice One gets nanoed and forces Bubble out, and Assassin... So he gets nanoed, forces Bubble out on Assassin, and he's looking for a blade, but then they just don't touch and don't trigger overtime, so it just ends. Moving on to the Valiant offense, we get a Reaper Genji Zarya from Valiant against an Ashe Genji Winston. But Dia pulls up, Guangzhou die. Rio gets last touch with dies, and Valiant win. And Rio got 2 final blows. So Rio had 100% of their final blows and had the. We should rename it to a Rio deadlift, because that's definitely what he is doing. And Guangzhou could not stage a decent dive the entirety of their offense, despite playing against a Zarya that did not have a speed boost. I'm not sure why. There was just no good dive coming out. I don't know. I don't really have anything to say about this map. It was just pure incompetence from the charge, and Valiant reacted to them well and just win. So the only thing to say about this is Becky had a good map on Echo after having a not great performance on Reaper. So that's all there is for that. Moving on to map 3, we have Eichenwald, which is a 2-1 victory for Charge. We have Valiant playing Dia, Becky, Saucin, Lunga, Coldest. I don't know why I said that. There are no swaps. Don't even need to say that. And you see it. So, moving on to the Valiant offense, we get Valiant playing Soldier, Reaper, Zarya, Lucio, Ana, and Charge defending with an Ana, Ana, Brig, Winston, Genji, Ashe. We went backwards. Dia does a quick grapple up, and then he swaps the Soldier right away. Rio jumps straight up, and that's the Dia on the point. He just jumped up. He had the bubble on the floor. He jumped up. He just got shot and died. Dia also gets unique, and Valiant enters second with 5-10. Devella swaps over to Soldier, and Charge win the fight as the cart gets to the castle corner. Valiant enter the castle, and Faraway hits a huge nade, and then Primal jumps in with Rio Primal jumps in, and they win, and there's 4 minutes on the clock. Dia pulls up through the castle, then Visor finds 2, and Valiant get moving under the castle bridge at about 3:09. Becky then blossoms and insta-dives, which he is known for doing on Reaper. Saucin dives to develop, and the cart is at the start of the overpass bridge at 2:28. Charge then hold the castle high ground as the cart kind of gets close to the end. Develop visors, but it gets kited, and beats end up trading. Saucin gets a grab. Force 1 is off the map because of the grab. I don't know why he couldn't climb up or something. And Charge win the fight off a big nade from far away, and now there's 1 minute left. Coldest goes down by Valiant, and they're holed up in the castle. They're just Coldest dies, and the Valiant back up under, and they just wait for him, and because they don't have enough guys. Wait, doesn't make any sense. So yeah, Choice 1 beats. He beats. Okay, I don't know how he did that. That's blades. He blades. And Dia Visor can't kill him. Becky finds 2 with Blossom, and Valiant just don't have enough guys, and the cart gets to just before the gate, which is 122.57 meters, nerd emoji. Moving on to the Charge offense, we have Ashe, Echo, Zarya, Brig, Ana from Valiant, and Soldier, Genji, Winston, Lucio, Ana from Charge. Dia immediately dies on the Ashe, which Ashes have been known to do so far today, and Charge are just pulling up, and Valiant is just a dead body on the point, and Dia swaps his Ashe to Soldier, and the Charge enter second with 5-10 or 5-20 even. So just no first point defenses today. Rio does a deep jump onto Dia on the castle, and he insta dies. Guangzhou just pushing the cart. Choice 1 nano blades on Coldest and Langza, and they both die. Rio gets traded out though. Becky is swapping over to his favorite character, Reaper, and Faraway gets a huge nade on the supports, and Becky developed in visors, and Rio primals, and Langza rallies, and Saucin is looking for Grav, but they don't need it because Dia pulls up to the castle and he visors and he gets good kills, and Valiant win with 250. Not the map, but the point. Saucin then grabs on the castle bridge and he gets unique, and Charge are forced to reset at 150. Develop goes down very early, but Choice 1 does not care, and he decides to blade anyway. But Valiant win the fight because they are fighting a 4v5. And then Charge boop Valiant back, and they finish the map. So I missed... Okay, wait, hold on. Time out. When I said Valiant won the fight that time when Choice 1 doesn't care, I lied. I actually remember this. He doesn't care, and he doesn't care that he lost a guy, and they win the fight, and then they're moving it to the finish line, and then they get a big boop, and Valiant don't get to touch. So this Val is actually this. Okay, that's it. A summary of this map. Rio is doing a moderate to severe amount of trolling. Not enough to hard lose, but he is not looking great by jumping straight up on Monkey in the middle of fights and diving solo onto backlines and solo and just dying. Choice A1 is doing big things, however, and basically he's the reason I would say the Charge are winning fights, as well as Faraway playing well. Other than that, I'd say Choice A1 and Faraway are the core reasons that the Charge end up winning this map and this match in total. Becky doing things on Echo, not on Reaper. Dia is still the best player on Valiant, I believe, by a pretty significant margin, and a good first point offense leads to Charge winning out. That's maybe not fair because Valiant also had a good offense, but yeah, not a lot to say. Moving on to Ilios, which is 2-1 for Charge. We have Krong for Rio making a substitution here. So Ruins is 100 to 99 for the Charge. Valiant are playing Soldier, Genji, Zarya, Lucio, Ana. Charge are playing Widow, Genji, Zarya, Brigana. Develop instantly picks Dia, and Dia swaps over to the Widow. Valiant get early point, though, and Develop hits a 6-shot on Lengza. And Choice A1 picks Dia, but the Charge lose the fight despite this. I'm not sure how, to be honest with you, but they ended up losing the fight. Lengza swapped over to Brig. Saucin gets nanoed, and he gets unique, and Choice A1, and Valiant have 50% of the point. And despite the Develop is still playing very well, he is clicking heads. He is doing his part. Becky Blade gets developed, though. So he's doing his part so much that Becky bladed him. Krong gets a grab, and he gets a lot of them in the grab. Becky Blades, I said that. Whatever. And then in the end, we get, somehow, Develop and Choice A1 soloing on the point together. And they get the flip back, and they end up killing like a tank and 2 supports, I think, or something. And I don't know, that it was an absolute cluster of things happening, and they ended up winning it out with Develop Choice A1. Develop gets Becky, and Dia gets Choice A1, and Develop gets another guy, and then Dia hits a headshot on Develop, and he loses him at 1 HP. Then Dia grapples in across the map trying to SMG him, but he doesn't hit him because Develop is hiding in a bush, and Dia dies. Saucin grabs air. Develop picks up Longza, huge. Develop is creating a lot of pressure, and there's 84% for Guangzhou at this point. And Krong gets a grab, and he gets a lot like on the bridge to the mountain side of the point. And Becky dies in Blade, and Guangzhou win the fight. So very close round for sure. But next round is not very close as Valiant 100-0 them. So Valiant will roll out with Soldier, Genji, Zarya, Lucio, Ana against Ashe, Echo, D.Va, Mercy, Ana. Valiant take the early point, and Develop picks Becky. Saucin gets 2, and they maintain control of the point. Becky swaps over to Tracer now, and Choice A1 fails a dive on Dia. Saucin is doing a lot, and there's 74% for Valiant, and it's very slow fights. The fights are not quick. Charge are taking some slow ass fights. Becky sticks Develop, unique reses, and Bob goes, and he's like in the doorway, so he's not on the point, but if he rotates a certain way, he is on the point or something. Dia gets Visor, and he gets both supports with it, and Valiant take Lighthouse 100-0. Moving on to Well, which is a 199 for the Charge, with Valiant playing Soldier, Echo, Zarya, Brig, Ana, and Charge playing Ashe, Echo, Zarya, Mercy, Ana. Krong is chilling in the Lighthouse, and the team's flip sides. Choice A1 drops on top of Dia, and Saucin lifts up diffs Krong. Becky goes down the Faraway, and Saucin gets Faraway. And then he also dies to Choice A1, and Valiant end up getting the first cap somehow. It was very crazy. But then it was like a weird flip. It was, I don't know. Anyway, Choice A1 picks Saucin and dupes a Soldier before dying out of the copy, and Charge over end up flipping the point at 18% for Val, and Becky swaps over to Tracer. The reason that this point was so confusing that Valiant got it is that Charge just like won the fight in the end, and it looked like they should have had point for a while, but then Valiant just had it and they didn't give it up. So it was a little weird. Becky is annoying Faraway, and he sticks him, but Krong bubble comes out, and Krong walks up and he grabs, and the DPS just clean up and charge win that fight. Linksa swaps over to Lucio, and Dia visors. He gets develop and Krong. But unique reses develop, but Dia picks choice A1 again, and then develop, and Valiant ends up flipping with 99% of the point for charge. Assassin gets grab, and he grabs Krong. Faraway ends up going down. Dia visor gets a lot, but Krong lives barely from the faraway healing, and choice A1's Ajaxed. Linksa. Very sad for Valiant and Valiant fans, but the charge ended up pulling through because Krong was living on that point in overtime, just barely. And yeah, that Ajax by Linksa maybe ends up costing Valiant the map, maybe the match, who knows. But yeah, so overall in this map, Develop took control of Ruins, and it was a very close map, but Develop was for sure the difference maker on Widow. For sure. Like, he was edging out Dia, and he was getting a lot of picks and applying a lot of pressure. But on Lighthouse, the charge just didn't fight back, and it was almost like a Route 66 situation, kind of. There was just no fight. I don't know. The Diva did not get that much value into this area, and the Ashe struggled with the Mercy Pocket because the Mercy Pocket was usually with choice A1 and Echo, so the Ashe didn't actually, it was like a fake Mercy Pocket. And Well was very close, but I'd say Becky on Tracer was definitely not getting as much value as choice A1 was supplying on Echo. And Becky was being annoying to the backline, but the pulse bombs were getting bubbled. There were some misses. There was some not subpar. Par Tracer play. Subpar probably Tracer play from Becky. Becky more of an Echo enjoyer. So overall summary for this map, pretty close. With what Val did win, they were dominating them, but that was definitely because Charge were awful on those points and those maps. Yeah, Route 66 is literally not real. Like, I don't know how that happened. For Valiant, Becky looked good on Echo, alright on Genji Tracer, but not really alright, or like bad. Also bad on Reaper. Dia was far and beyond Valiant's best player for sure. Just pulling fights out of nowhere consistently. And Assassin had a good series, but I think Krong diffed him in the Zarya battle. He was respectable, it was alright. For the charge, Rio was question mark a lot. His Colosseum was pretty good, but Root was awful. And Eichenwald had some questionable fights, like jumping straight up into the air for no reason. So when the charge looked bad, they looked horrible. They looked literally like the worst team maybe ever. But they did not look horrible all the time, so they ended up winning. And I feel like they relied pretty heavily on choice A1 and Develop to win. And maybe Faraway. Faraway also had a good series. And I definitely don't feel good about either team moving forward. So the Thompson player of the match is going to choice A1. While Develop did carry a control point, and he played well, choice A1 definitely was a difference maker. And his Echo and his Genji were pretty much the core focus of the charge. And kind of like how they planned on winning fights, it seemed. And that's all there is there. So I need to do this. This is actually a 31 or 300 Spark. That's all lowercase. That's also all lowercase. Yep. Hello? Okay. So this is taking way longer than I was supposed to have made it take, but whatever. Okay. Alright, so New Queen Street. 107 to 42 for the Spark, which is pretty dominant, I would say. Pretty good. I'd say dominant. But it didn't look like it the whole time. So we have Prophet, Fitz, Smurf, Creative, Vindame for Soul, and Shy, Alpha, Munar, Irony, Super Rich for Hangzhou. Not anything unexpected. Maybe we expect Gushue on Winston, but yeah, what is unexpected is Soul running Soldier, Sombra, Zarya on a Lucio, and Spark running Soldier, Reaper, Zarya on a Lucio. So we get a Smurf Zarya and we get a Fitz on Sombra. And Fits on Sombra isn't surprising in itself, but we haven't seen a lot of Sombra. So Alpha E runs it down on Smurf and they trade, which is good for Spark, right? Tank more value than a DPS. So Spark get the first push and they end up getting the lead. And then Fits on Sombra tries to spawn camp the Reaper, and you can't do that. So you could maybe, but you can't really. So I don't know what the goal was. Prophet ends up taking down Irony with the Helix from across the map, but the Chai takes out Fits, and then Prophet takes down both of the Hangzhou DPS, and Soul pushes the bot back to mid. Fits is a huge EMP, and Soul also used Nano and Grab, and they end up taking the lead. I don't think they quite get to the checkpoint though. Alpha U walks onto Smurf and the Grab, which you will notice happens a lot on the Reaper comps, where Alpha U will just walk onto Smurf and kill him. And he doesn't care how, he does not care why, where, he's on a mission. Fitz hacks Alpha E and then throws Translocator at him. And, I think he had a place. I think he thought he had a place down, and Spark ended up taking the lead, and I believe a checkpoint at this point. Prophet pulls up, and the EMP is activated with I don't know what ETA means. For Soul to win that fight, and it's getting pushed back. Alpha E is just running it at Smurf still, and gets him, and Shy Visor gets a lot, and Hangzhou ends up pushing it back. The Zarya both grab at this is at the Soul checkpoint at this point, I believe. But Bernard gets more damage out of it, and they win out. And Bot is now at the last corner past the checkpoint. Spark ended up kite way back because of a Prophet Visor, like straight up like past the midpoint. And Fitz gets an EMP off whenever they come back, but he insta-dies, and then Shy hits a flank Visor and gets creative, both in the flank and in the killing the enemy, and continue to push the bot deeper into the Soul spawn. Prophet's on a flank behind them though, and he gets Shy and Bernard with a huge Visor flank. And the bot's now at a mid, like at the midpoint in overtime. Smurf gets a grab, and then Super Rich gets hacked out of beat. But Alpha Yi continues to int onto Smurf and does not care and kills Smurf, and then Hangzhou win out map 1 because there's just nothing to touch the cart for Soul. So in summary, Alpha Yi inting onto Smurf all game, and the soldiers both doing a lot of work on both sides, but Fitz Sombra was not getting the job done. The Reaper was getting way more value than the Sombra consistently the entire time, and Fitz on Sombra should probably not be a thing moving forward, I would expect, at least this stage. Bernard was better than Smurf on Zarya, which is not unexpected. But at the same time, it's easy to say that, but Bernard also had much less pressure because there was a Sombra as opposed to the Reaper. So he should be doing better on Zarya because there's less pressure on him. So yeah. Moving on to Dorado, we have a 3-1 victory for Soul, and Goushwei comes in for Bernard. So this is actually Goushwei. So there's that. And then we move on to Soul's offense. Soul starts out Tracer, Widow, Winston on a Lucio, and Spark play Ashe, Echo, Winston on a Mercy. Fitz takes some Widow shots, but he swaps with a Soldier, and he flanks around to the high ground. Soul almost flipped the map at the choke, kind of. Like they're on the defensive side mostly, but there are also some of Spark on the defensive side, so it was a weird kind of orientation they had going on. Anyway, Alpha Yi takes down Fitz, and Goushwei dies. And then Prophet is annoying the backline a lot, including Shy. And Yi takes out Fitz again. And Nano Prophet then finally gets Shy and Super Rich, and Soul enters second with 405. So some pretty big stuff coming out from Soul. Fitz gets a big Visor with Smurf and Primal also. And they end up winning that fight. Alpha Yi gets a nano boost, and he also gets 3. And then Spark are just ignoring Prophet as much as they can. And now it's at 250. It swaps over to Widow, and Smurf and Prophet try to pressure the cart, but Alpha Yi just kind of kills Smurf when he tries to leave. And Yi copies Ana, but nothing really happens off it. No big nades, no big sleeps, no nano boost or anything. Goushwei goes deep on Fitz and forces him out, and now there is 45 seconds on the clock. Alpha Yi finds the Soul backline, but he ends up dying to Fitz. Super gets a Primal, he asks Irony, and he lives long enough for the overtime and for Soul to come back with reinforcements. And Yi goes down to Prophet, and Gushwei hits a primal, but it's not enough. Smurf gets nano, Prophet kills Yi and Super Rich, and now they have 115 entering third. And you might be like, wow, this is a really good, this is great for Spark. They are in a pretty good, alright spot. But that's actually wrong, because Creative gets a big ante, and Smurf dives them, and he just keeps going, and they end up capping with 102. Or, 102 seconds. 1.2 seconds, rather. So, yeah, I don't know. They just fell apart after that almost hold on second. Could not get the job done. Moving on to the Spark offense, we get Tracer Soldier Winston on a Brig from Soul, and Widow Echo Winston on a Mercy for Spark. Shy is looking for Widow picks, but he stays on it much longer than Fitz did. And it's just so long that Smurf and Prophet hard dive him and Irony right outside the spawn, and they both lose. And Shy swaps over to Soldier, and Prophet just one clips him on the way out. He's trying to walk up to the right side, and he just gets one clip by Prophet. Alpha Yi picks Prophet then, and Gushwei goes down as Shy gets a pick. Nano comes out on Alpha Yi as the Spark delay wiping Soul, and basically give them more push off it. So they end up winning the fight, and instead of just killing them all right away, they kind of like, I don't know if it's intentional, maybe not, but it kind of looked a little bit. They just stopped them from retreating. It's not odd to do that, but they didn't wipe them right away. And I feel like they probably could have. I don't know. Alpha Yi dupes Monkey when he's really low, but it doesn't really matter because they don't win off this. And Prophet pulses Irony. He ends up picking Shy and Smurf primals, and they would just win. Alpha Yi swaps over to Reaper at this point, and Shy picks Prophet, and then he also gets Vindame, and the Spark enters second with 245. So they basically win off of dealing with Prophet, which has been very difficult to deal with at this point. Prophet has been kind of free in doing whatever he wants. Nano Alpha Yi gets Spark some space, and Nano Smurf ends up winning with a 130 entering second. Shy boosts up, and he bobs deep on the high ground, but Smurf just jumps on him and he dies. Gushwei primals Fitz, and Alpha Yi takes out Smurf, and that's that. Prophet staging for a pulse, but they either know he's there or he gets scouted by Shy, who hits a dynamite, and Prophet gets a stick on Irony, and Smurf primal, and then Spark end up not being able to take round 2 or take the point 2. So in summary, Alpha Yi looked really good, but Shy was shut down, and Hangzhou Spark had no answer to the Prophet Tracer, and Soul just had cleaner dies and looked much more active on the backline. There was more impressive antis by Creative, and the backline was just able to be more active overall. Okay, so moving on to Midtown. We will be done soon. I do not know why this one is taking so long. I feel like it should not be compared to the other ones, but this one is straight up an hour. I don't know what happened here, but yeah, I guess I was I don't know. So Midtown ends up being a 3-2 win for Spark. Bernard comes back for Gushwei, and Soul on their offense end up running Genji Soldier, Winston on a Lucio, and Spark run Ash Torb. That's correct. Zarya on a Brig. So Spark are rotating according to Soul's rotation, and Soul are struggling to find any dive angle, and Shy is just shooting them as there's rotating going on. So Spark just kind of positionally out positioning, but eventually, like they do die. But next fight, they come through, and they have a nano visor now, and Fitz gets nanoed, and he visors, and he dodges the bob coming in from Shy, but he actually does kill Shy. But he turns around, and there is a nanoed Bernard just sitting there, and he takes him out, and Spark ended up winning that fight. Bernard grabs him across the map, like from like the spawn area kind of thing, and Alpha Yi on the Torbjorn next to Little House tries to go over and get some dinks on the captured Vindame in the grab, but he ends up dying. So he dies with Molten Core, and Spark end up losing off it probably. Bernard swaps over to Doom to touch, and Sky gets Fits, which make it look possible, but then Prophet hits a Blade, and they go deep. And Soul are forced to use some other ults than that as well, and end up entering second with 230. But it's not a loss for Spark, really, because you force out a lot of ults. Alpha Yi swaps over to Genji, and Soul moving card a bit. Nano Alpha Yi goes deep and gets nothing and dies. Soul dive back and gets Spark on the high ground and then force them back. And Nanoblade Prophet gets Irony and Shy and Super Rich. And Smurf Primals and goes deep, and they enter third with 150. Soul swaps over to Reaper Zarya, and Alpha Yi goes down to Fitz Helix, and Super Rich rallies, and the Hangzhou Sparks stabilize. And Bernard grabs, and Irony gets a big anti, and even though Vendame beats Soul back out in overtime, as the Nanoblade Alpha Yi gets the backline and Shy visors, and Soul gets team wiped. So, what do we have for this? The beat isn't like the beat came late there from Vendame, right? It wasn't great. Vendame having suspect match at this point, to be honest, and it's about to get a little worse, maybe, perhaps. So moving on to the Hangzhou offense, we have Soul playing Genji Soldier Winston on a Lucio, and Spark playing Soldier Genji Zarya on a Lucio. Sai tries to flank out Ali, but Soul stuff him, and eventually it leads to Spark taking the point house, but Bernard ends up dying, and Spark like try to stabilize in there, but without Bernard they just die whenever they get dove, and it's a reset city for Prophet on a Genji. And now at 245. Shy goes down to Fitz early, and Spark are forced to wait. Prophet Nanoblades Irony and Alpha, and Fitz finds Shy, and Spark are forced to back. Now it's at 120. Prophet then takes out Super Rich early at 105. So there's two times now in this offense where Spark just die before the fight start to either Fitz or Prophet. Nanoblade Alpha E forces a beat and Shy visors, but Smurf Primals both supports, and then Shy. But Spark end up moving to control the point, and Soul barely recontest, and they actually don't quite get it. Because Smurf swaps over to Doom, and they get a little bit of a touch, but he can't make it to the point in time, so they end up entering second with 140, and getting a lot of all charge, rather. Hold on. Okay, so Nano Alpha U goes crazy on the backline with 105. Alpha U then blades in and dies, and Shy gets a visor, and Soul are cutting back. Bernard Grav finds some, but Smurf is primaling on the point, and before he goes down, I don't know what that's supposed to be. So, yeah, before he goes down, okay. And Spark entered third with 130 on the clock. So, looking very doable, because Soul got stopped around like the first like physical corner of third. So Shy walks in with a visor and gets nanoed, and Soul ended up crumpling, and Spark just walked the card to the end. So I'm not entirely sure. Like, Soul were staged all on like the left side whenever you're looking towards the point on circuit, and Shy just kind of walked down main, was right into the backline already. So I don't know how that ended up happening, but overall we have a very close map, with both teams looking pretty good at times, but Spark being able to carry their second point momentum into third, whereas Soul decided to stop and swap comps when they entered third, switching over from the Winston to the Zarya and to the Reaper and stuff like that. And Shy was much more effective this map compared to the last one, with Vendame having some questionable positioning into the enemy backline at times, and some not phenomenal beats, especially in that last fight with the nano and stuff like that. Not great. So coming in for the last map for this hour and 4-minute banger of a review, which I did not intend to have this was maybe supposed to be half the time. I probably will fix that next time, not right now, because I'm just gonna upload this. But we have Ilios. So Soul playing their guys, Spark playing their guys, no substitutions. Gushue is not coming in. We have Ruins to start. So Soul plays Reaper, Sombra is back, Zarya, Ana, Lucio. Spark playing Reaper, Genji, Reinhardt, London Spitfire type beat, Ana, Lucio. So Spark take the first cap as Soul can't run into them because they're on the Rhine, and Zarya likes to be a little brawly, but you can't brawl into Rhine. And Alpha Yi gets 3, and now there's 40% for Spark. So they cap early, the fight goes a little bit. And Yi on the Genji Rhine comp going crazy, gets 3. Spark move up as Soul DPS flank to point, and they end up flipping the point. Prophet goes down. Bitsy and Peas and Chai Blossoms to get 2, which includes an Ajax off of Vindame, and Spark flip the point back. Spark pull up, like 9 ults are used, and Prophet ends up being the last ult used, and it's Blossom, and he wins with it. And Soul swap it in overtime. So it's like, I don't even know, 99 to like 20 or 25 or something at this point probably. But the one ult that wasn't used last fight was Nano, and they put it on Alpha Yi, and he does a lot, and he goes deep with it, and Spark ended up winning the first round pretty decisively. At some point here, the Rhine pick gets swapped over to Zarya. I don't know if I mentioned that, but they don't stay on around this whole time. I'd say after they lose the fight, he goes over to Zarya. Moving on to Lighthouse, we have Soul playing Echo Ashe, Zarya, Ana, Mercy, and Spark playing Ashe, Echo, Diva, Ana, Mercy. So the only difference here being the tanks of Zarya or Diva. Shy picks Prophet, and Vindame tries to res him immediately. This is not Lighthouse, by the way. This is Well. Or Well, not Lighthouse. My bad. Vindame tries to res, but he dies to Alpha Yi, so not a great res there from Vindame. Bernard ends up killing 3 on Diva, and Spark get the cap. Prophet swaps over to Tracer, and Fitz swaps over to Soldier, and Vindame swaps over to Brig. But the Soul DPS go down early next fight, and there's 50% of the point for Spark now. Shy picks Prophet off, and Alpha Yi takes down Creative, and Smurf, and now that's 92% of the point. And then Nano Alpha Yi goes deep and takes out Creative. He copies his area, he grabs, and Spark ends up taking Soul out in the end. So for this map, all of Spark really stepped up, and there were some creative compositional picks with the Reinhardt and the Diva, but just really great individual performances and just clicking all around with your dives, with your peel, with I don't even know how to describe it, but it was some great stuff. Its Soul just kind of got squashed. If you can't, they could not shut down Shy like they did on Dorado. And if you have Shy doing things, and you have Alpha Yi doing things, you're going to be in trouble. And that's how it ended up happening. So overall, for this entire match, Spark came out on top on New Queen Street by running it down on the Smurfs area. They won the Zarya battle just by applying more pressure to him with the Reaper. Soul won Dorado largely off the back of Prophet doing the Lord's work, and they shut down Shy hard. But it shouldn't be understated that Creative also had a very good map, and so did Smurf. But Prophet was definitely doing the most. Spark squeaked it out on Midtown. I think the deciding factor was the carrying momentum from second into third and not switching the comps. But it was a very close map that could have been either way, because both teams made some pretty not great mistakes, like Soul not getting the first point touch, and Spark just dying before fights twice or 3 times. So not great there. But on Ilios, there's nothing really to say. Spark just kind of came alive, and Soul did not respond well. So the automaton player of the match is not on the screen. It is Alpha Yi, which is probably obvious by how much he comes up. Every point of this match, consistently every fight, he is popping off. He is doing stuff and finding big value. On Reaper, he knew the assignment for sure and had a burning desire to int onto Smurf at all times, at all costs, anyway, anyhow. He was getting the job done. So there is my huge review of APAC. Let me know your thoughts, I guess. I did not mean for it to be this long. If you think the play-by-play was too in-depth, please let me know, because I feel like it probably was. I did not mean for it to be. but it was. If you like the summaries more, maybe I expand on those more. I'm not sure how to. It's hard because I like these notes for like remembering what happened and remembering how it happened. But if I write the notes, it's hard to like reduce them, or maybe I should do any play-by-play at all, and I should just talk about the review of what happened. I like my opinion of what happened, but on one half the review is like how it happened, and not what happened, like what I'm seeing, and that kind of says a lot too, I think. So I don't know. You guys can tell me what you prefer if anyone's watching this. And some good APAC matches. Hopefully, I'll get a review today for NA as well. And yeah, have a good one. Like, subscribe, and deuces.